Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to Player Profiler News Primetime. I am Brendan Booth. With me is Justin Curry. We got some things to talk about today, including some breaking news out of my neck of the woods, Santa Clara, California. We are going to talk some positional battles, and I'm specifically referring to rookie quarterbacks. And also, the schedule was released. So we have a really good idea of when and where these teams are going to be playing. We knew who the opponents were going to be, but it wasn't set in stone. It's still not set in stone. Last 2 weeks of the season, some teams don't know if they're playing Saturday or Sunday yet. But that's 10 months down. My math is bad. That's 8 months down the road. That's 7 months down the road. And,
at some point in the future.
And we'll get into that. It's Player Profiler News Primetime. All right, leading off the news tonight, big earthquakes down in Santa Clara, not real earthquakes, just kind of contractual NFL earthquakes. The San Francisco 49ers have signed Greg Joseph to a one-year contract to come in and give Jake Moody some kicking competition in camp. The industry is beside itself at this point. What are your thoughts, Chev?
Well, I mean, we all know that Greg Joseph is, the distant cousin of Morton Anderson, Greg the Leg. And also, we're really just focused on, how can we add some competition to a room that has Jake Moody? Now, Jake Moody, one of the most powerful legged kickers. They call him the horse because he kicks well, not because of other reasons. So
I didn't
with
know
those two
any
guys.
of that.
Okay.
Actually, we are here to talk about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy signs a big 5-year extension worth in the northward of $250 million, $181 million guaranteed. That's about $30 million a year guaranteed, and the potential to have $53 million paid out to him over the course of the next 5 years. That is a bag. And the 49ers, who we'll talk about their 2025 implications in a bit, because there's some very relevant information that I came across this morning regarding the schedule that I want to get to. But there has been talk. So first of all, 7th round, last pick of the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. Everybody called Brock Purdy a system quarterback. I have some pushback on that. We've got some stats since 2022. So that's the last 4 seasons. Brock Purdy is sixth in the NFL among quarterbacks in EPA per dropback, or fantasy points per dropback, whichever one you want to do. Ryan Heath over at Fantasy Points has pointed out those data points, that datum, if you will, and that puts him in pretty good company with Lamar Jackson and a bunch of other guys. Brock Purdy is legit, you guys. He's not a system quarterback. Unless you say, well, he's in Kyle Shanahan's system and he plays the system really well, but he's a good quarterback. He's the franchise guy, and the 49ers put their stamp on that today. And now, what are your thoughts?
No, the only way that you can consider Brock Purdy a system quarterback, like you said, is if you just consider any quarterback as part of a system. Brock Purdy's grown over the last, they took the training wheels off and we didn't really notice. You saw in that NFC Championship game 2 years ago, the beginning of 2024, where he just absolutely, it took some luck with that ball bouncing off of the Detroit Lions defender and into Brandon Ayuk's hands. But, he operated at a level that showed you that he's more than just a game manager. Now, we have to decide which one it's going to be. We can't have 6 in one hand and half dozen in the other, because of the fact that when guys don't have weapons, we scream to the hilltops, these guys need weapons. We can't properly evaluate a guy without proper weapons. Bryce Young. So
Derek Carr.
Yeah. So when we were discussing these guys, he performed in a system that's designed for quarterbacks to succeed. Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, the guy who's got the famous granddad,
Trey Lance.
Oh yeah, no, Trey Lance sucked, and we know Trey Lance sucked. But there was another
Beathard.
Yes, CJ Beathard.
CJ Beathard.
So CJ Beathard and the regular also rans of the world at the quarterback position all have flash games. Brock Purdy has sustained that. He's got a quarterback 6 finish under his belt. He finished his quarterback 13, dealing with a ravaged O-line, no Trent Williams, no Christian McCaffrey, no Brandon Ayuk after week 6 or 7, I believe. And he still managed to keep this team afloat. And he performed admirably due to the circumstances. So this is well deserved. I mean, if you are a Brock Purdy hater, let's just say that out loud. Let's not stand on ceremony. Brock Purdy's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Okay? Don't mince.
Yeah, let's not don't pretend that it's one thing when you really want to say something else. So Brock Purdy gets this bag. This is fantastic. Anyone who knows anything about football knows that this is a guy who can make plays. So if you're a Brock Purdy hater, we can. There we go. Jamie comes in with the heat.
I think we know ball.
Yeah. So I'm thrilled to see this because Brock Purdy, Brock Purdy's a guy that I feel like deserves a little bit more respect, and he's a value from a dynasty perspective because of the fact that people think that it's just the system.
Right. And I think saying he's a system quarterback is not what people are trying to say. You said it before and I forgot it. All right, Jamie in the comments. Look at these beautiful gentlemen looking sharp. Thank you, sir. Also, bigz deserves that Brock Purdy money. I mean, I do, but I don't know what I'd do with it. I'd probably travel a lot and give most of it away. So it wouldn't do me as much good as it'll serve the Purdy family down the generational lines. I'm not sure why they paid Purdy when they just signed a better QB, Mac Jones. McCorkle. Just wanted to say who, Mac Jones. All right. I found the data. Ryan Heath, fantasy points per dropback is one of the most predictive quarterback stats. The top 6 in the stats since 2022 per fantasy points data. Number 1, Lamar Jackson at 0.69. Nice. Fantasy points per dropback. Jalen Hurts, 0.68. Josh Allen, Justin Fields at number 4. Sleeper alert. Justin Fields.
I just took him in startup, so I'm really pumped about that.
Right? Jaden Daniels with 1 year under his belt at 0.61. And Brock Purdy with the full sample size at 0.58. So he's 6th best in fantasy points per dropback. That's fantasy points. That's not real NFL football, you guys. That's fantasy points. Brock Purdy is number 6th in the most predictive stat according to fantasy points data. So if you're rolling into the season in the Superflex League with Justin Fields and Brock Purdy as your top 2 quarterbacks, you're in pretty darn good shape. If you've got any combination of like Lamar and Fields and Purdy, you're in even better shape because number 1, you're minimizing the access that the other teams have to those top 6 quarterbacks while maximizing your exposure. But you got a steady guy on the bench who's going to give you likely a top 5 or 6 finish, whatever week he's filling in for the buys, or based on matchups or whatever. So I know for a fact that apart from those other 4, Lamar, Jalen, Allen, and Daniels, Justin Fields and Brock Purdy can be had for a song. So Superflex startup, grab one of those guys if you're in the top 6 drafting in the first round. Grab one of those guys that I mentioned before, and then maybe in the 7th round, 8th round, 9th round, grab a Fields, grab a Purdy, and you're sitting pretty.
Yes, like that's the thing is we're the market is not going to. People are. I have a lot of Brock Purdy because he was a fantasy sleeper. Geno Smith. I mean, that's entirely possible. Bigz, I feel like that's more of a question that's equipped for you, but
fantasy sleeper Geno Smith, thoughts? I don't think he's a sleeper. I think he's a value play, and I think we all know what Geno Smith's ceiling is. He can finish in the top 10, absolutely, and with a better offensive line in Las Vegas than he had in Seattle. Maybe a couple more weapons than just the 3 that they had there. I think No, Raiders not to the Super Bowl, and we're going to discuss that in a bit. So hang with us, Jamie, because for the last segment for our top story, we're going to get into the schedule and why the Raiders of the Super Bowl is absolutely not a realistic possibility. Back to our dreamer. No, he's not a sleeper. He's definitely somebody that you should have, especially in best ball. The stack that I've been hitting hard is any combination of Brock Bowers with Geno Smith, maybe Jacoby Myers, and then Dante Thornton in the later rounds. And they're going to put together some big plays.
Is that your auto select?
Pretty close. I do have Trey Tucker in there, but that was pre NFL draft. Since they brought in Dante Thornton, Tucker has slid down a little bit for me.
I haven't started yet, so that's why I'm asking. I mean, I feel like Dante Thornton is probably, the quintessential best ball sleeper because, he's so big and so fast.
Yeah, and that's exactly the route tree that he's run in college was like deep shots and curl routes. And so he's going to be Jamie. Keep it appropriate, buddy. That's for the pulse. Save it for the pulse. All right. There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was somebody was contrasting Brock Purdy and what he's done versus what Dak Prescott, who is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, contrasting what those two have done, like apart from each other. And I will scroll until I find it. Basically, what it's saying is that Brock Purdy absolutely earned his contract, and Dak still has yet to. Dak doesn't have the playoff record. He doesn't have a lot of the efficiency metrics, and he doesn't have the regular season record. Generally, Brock Purdy with the 49ers has been superior than Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys, and it's kind of hard not to notice where the money's at.
Interesting.
Here we go. According to Brandon Murchison, Prescott $60 million per year, Purdy 53. Dak Prescott is 2-5 in the playoffs. Brock Purdy is 4-2. Record against teams over 500. Prescott is 22-25. Purdy is 10-9. So they're giving a whole lot more money to Dak Prescott in Dallas than Brock Purdy is getting in San Francisco or Santa Clara, whatever. Speaking of Santa Clara, by the way, Santa Clara, home of the Super Bowl in 2026, and it's right around the corner from my house. So not literally, it's about a 2-hour drive. So you're all invited the first couple weeks before the Super Bowl. Come hang out. We'll go see Northern California, maybe some Napa, maybe go to South Lake Tahoe, check out the city. I'll show you East Oakland. We'll go hang out with Todd Shaw, too cheesy, my boy. And
game.
Yeah, we'll go do some things. All right. So Brock Purdy gets the bag. Let's talk about some rookie quarterbacks like you see in the thumbnail. But first, let's hear from our fearless leader.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite Player Profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
But wait, that's not all. With this incredible offer, you will receive Fast Draft Friday. Today is Friday. If you go play Fast Draft and you draft 5 teams at $5 a pop, that's $25. You're going to get a $100 deposit from Fast Draft. So if this is your first time playing, go to fastdraft.app, download the app, start up your account, use code BOOTH, BOOTH, or Chev90, your choice. You'll get a $50 deposit match. That's $50 instantly. If you deposit $50, you have $100. Now play 5 games for Fast Draft Friday, and you have $75 banked, and $100 will be added to your account. What are we doing? These prices are out of control. All right. So looking at the thumbnail, I wanted to talk about some quarterbacks, and we have Cam Ward out of Tennessee. I think you have a personal stake in that game. Tyler Shuck.
I've got a Cam Ward. You see that?
Oh no! Oh snap!
Yeah.
Tyler Shuck is the dark horse favorite to start for the New Orleans Saints in Week 1.
It's very dark horse.
We got Jackson Dart, who is an even darker horse to start for the New York Giants Week 1, and then my
horse
guy,
noir, if you will.
Oh yeah, Equus Noir. And then my guy out of Philadelphia, one Kyle McCord, who forbid anything happen to Jalen Hurts. Kyle McCord is going to step in and just absolutely sling the gun all over the yard.
Let me create a path for you to relevance for Kyle McCord, okay? Here's what's going to happen. This is exactly what I want to happen. He's going to ball out in the preseason because Jalen Hurts isn't going to play any snaps. Mm-hmm. Kyle McCord's going to complete about 78% of his passes and look like just a pro-ready stud. And then somebody's going to get hurt, and somebody else is going to get hurt, and he's going to get an opportunity. They're going to trade like a 5th-round pick for him. He's going to come in. He's going to start like 6 games and flash, and then we're gonna see the rise of Kyle McCord almost in a Brock Purdy-esque manner.
I agree, and also I disagree. I think it's going to be with the Philadelphia Eagles. As all of the coach speak that has come out, the Philadelphia Eagles have been clocking Kyle McCord for the last 5 years, six years since he was in high school. They've been waiting for him to fall into their lap, and that he did, and they're very excited to have him in the building. I just learned about the Undroppables unscore from Scott Boulanger, or also known as Jax Falcone, on the CBS Dynasty podcast. I'm going to need some more of that. Well, Jamie, go to theundroppables.com, go to the merch store, and get your unscore. No cursing, Jamie. He's going to fast draft all night long. Waiting for 2 more on fast draft. Only if I knew 2 guys who have fast draft. Wait, you 2 have fast? Yes, that's true. You might not notice this, but we're in the middle of a show.
Well. Ask him which one he's joining. Which one?
Which one are you joining? Because it looks like Chev is ready to pull the trigger. So, Chev, while you're doing that, let me ask you, what do you think? Handicap for me the chances that Will Levis is the starting quarterback out of the gate in Tennessee. What are you hearing from Tennessee camp?
If I hear that Will Levis is a starter, I'm also going to be hearing rapture horns.
Oh,
yeah. That's the chances. So none.
Those are the big, long golden horns of the angels.
Yeah. So none. That is over. He can't hurt me anymore. We are free. We are on to War Daddy Ward.
I am a best foods man.
Yeah. We only play 80s Billy Joel, sir.
I don't know if you know this, but Will Levis is not you, Chev, because you probably know. But Will Levis, he endorses Duke's mayonnaise, and we all know, especially on the West Coast, on the west side of the Mississippi, that Best Foods, known as Hellman's on the east side, is the superior mayonnaise product. Best Foods, not a sponsor, but reach out. All right, Tyler Shuck finds himself in the enviable position of only having to beat out Jake Haener, shout out Fresno State, and Spencer Rattler of QB1 infamy to become the New Orleans Saints quarterback 1 to begin the season. Now, if I'm running the show in New Orleans, I'm looking at 2026 with a sharp eye towards Lenora Sellers, Arch Manning, Drew Allar, any number of these quarterbacks who likely would slot in above everybody else in the 2025 quarterback class, except for Cam Ward. If I want Arch Manning, the New Orleans Saints are the perfect tank candidate. They're going to be fighting it out with the Cleveland Browns. But I feel like you throw Tyler Shuck to the Wolves, you got the number 1 locked up.
Well, so the only thing is, Arch Manning and his camp have said that they want him to have a certain amount of starts. And I believe that number is, even if they were to win the national championship this year, it would still be impossible for him to get to that number of starts in 2026. So I'm already preparing myself for that loaded 2027 class that we've already got our eyes set on the horizon for. I'm already preparing for him to kind of upset the apple cart and be a part of that class. With the NIL money, Lenore Sellish could very easily be in that class as well. You know, he'll just be a redshirt sophomore after this year, unless he lights it on fire, wins the Heisman. They take South Carolina to the playoffs for the first time ever, which you could make an argument that maybe they should have made the playoffs this past year. I don't think that there's any way that you can. I don't think there's any way the only guys that I'm counting on being in this class from a quarterback perspective are the Nussmeier and Drew Aller and Cade Klubnik, of course. So that kind of takes a little bit of the steam off. I'm not a Nussmeier guy. I don't know. Also, your guy, Rocco Becht, will also be in the 2026 class, and Sam Levitt. So right there, those are some names that you probably want to get familiar with now, but I think that they're going to sell out to suck this year. And by the time that I don't think that they can get out of cap hell in 2026, they being the Saints, I don't think they can get out of that just at the end of 2025 going into 2026. I think that this is a whole 2-year project to get all that dead cap money off the books. They're finally embracing the suck. It'll also coincide with Alvin Kamara, his contract extension expiring. And so they'll be free of the entire Drew Brees era and that money. And so by that time, those guys will be available. Those guys being Arch Manning or Lenore Sellers in that 2027 class, potentially DJ Lagway. He's got to take some steps forward, but all those guys will be available. And New Orleans will be in a position where they can draft their quarterback and be able to equip him with weapons, whereas they are not able to do that now. I mean, you're rolling out there. Chris Olave's one concussion away from, laughing at his fart bubbles in the bathtub and licking ice cream cones with no ice cream. And, Juwan Johnson.
Already do that.
Say what?
Who doesn't already do that?
People who don't have 7 concussions.
But,
no, I think that we're just a little bit further away from them being able to achieve competency from a financial perspective that will allow them to compete. And so that's why I think that, they're probably going to throw Spencer Rattler out there. Everybody's going to start showing up with paper bags over their heads again. And then we'll get Tyler Shuck, 9.53 RAS score. He's going to do a little bit more. I think he's going to be able to do a little bit more than what we're giving him credit for right now. So I think that could work out from a fantasy perspective, but it's going to be real bad if you're a Saints fan.
The other thing that you brought up was the NIL environment. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks come out in year 5, year 6. It's no longer like junior quarter. We could be seeing the last of the junior quarterbacks, JJ McCarthy. It's just not going to happen anymore. And if you are projected at the top, would it not behoove you to skip it a year? Say, okay, I'm going to forfeit first round money because I don't want to go to New Orleans and take another year on an NIL deal. What's this? You guys, Chev just projected his voice into my headphones without moving his lips, and he said Arch Manning is transferring to LSU next year. What? Okay, let's get back to all right. Best Foods is the only mayonnaise that matters. Kraft and Dukes are for low-class rubes. Thank you.
A rube, sir.
They're for downstairs people. Shout out Downton Abbey. Browns can't win more than 2 games. Titans and one of the Steelers. Oh, shots fired, Jamie.
You want to play this game, huh, Jamie?
Dynasty is my life.
You don't have, Jamie, you have 5 quarterbacks and nobody knows who's going to throw the forward pass for you this year. You can't hand it off 1 billion times to Quinshon Judkins, buddy. Why don't you pipe down a little bit?
12 teams, super flex, half PPR, 5 half-point tight end premium. Geno McCarthy, Aaron Jones, Mason Connor, and Tracy, Puka, Jettis, Mahaj, Judy Moore, Bowers. Am I closer to rebuild, retool than contender? I don't think so. I think you are right on the edge as a playoff team. I really like McCarthy. Geno should have a pretty good year. Aaron Jones, we'll see if we can squeeze one more drop of juice out of that dude. Then you got Jordan Mason. James Conner, he could go one of two ways. He could fall off the age cliff, or he could just do James Conner stuff. Then you got Puka and JJ. I love that. And Bowers. I would try and figure out a way to move Marvin Harrison Jr. for something a little bit bigger. So it's not that you need to retool. It's just that there are some moves that you can make to try and like firm up what you're dealing with.
Yeah, you would definitely want to try to tier up at the running back position a little bit. I think, what Big said is spot on. I mean, that James Conner thing is just kind of hanging over your head like an albatross.
Aaron Jones too.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. Yeah, they're both right there. Like, hey man, there's the edge. There it is, man.
You go. No, you go. No, you go.
So I mean, if they smash, your team's gonna be awesome. But the problem is, they're gonna have to die on your roster. Like they're gonna have to stop playing American tackle football on your roster. You're never gonna be able to get the value that they actually represent in your lineup, which is fine. See, Biggs' dog is telling you that we're telling you the truth, brother.
Yeah, Murdoch agrees. All right. So 2 wins for the Browns is too much. Yes, Jamie, 2 wins for the Browns is too much. If there ever was a team who should hand off 500 times, it's the 2025 Browns. Yes. All right. My fastest drafter, 2.33 seconds per pick. Good job, Jamie. Pat yourself on the back for me. Bijan, AJ Brown, Jacobs, McLaurin, Flowers, and Shakir. That's not a bad squad. Time for another fast draft. You're getting close to that $100 deposit, Jamie. All right. Jackson Dart is the New York Giants rookie sensation. New York moved up into the first round to give him first round draft capital. On that team, he's looking up at the backs of Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, who has some of the weirdest camp fashion sense I've ever seen.
Gotta stay immersed in it. Gotta be present all the time. We're locked in right here. Let's get 1% better every day. Let's do it.
Unlimited and
unlimited spandex is what I have in my locker.
I'm taking this chance a lot in a lot of my fantasy leagues, and I have a feeling that looking at the contract situations of the two, I think that Jameis Winston is very tradable, maybe to New Orleans. I think that he doesn't have much of a contract hanging over the Giants' head, so they can move on with him if they make the choice to go to Jackson Dart. I've talked to many people from this chair that I'm sitting in, me being in the chair, not them, about the idea that Joe Shane and Brian Daboll go into this season ride or die with Jackson Dart. Let's just throw it to the wind and see what happens. They're going to get fired if they lose with Russell Wilson. They might keep their jobs if they win with Jackson Dart. Russell Wilson, all he has to do is get outplayed by Jackson Dart, and he's on the bench. We had some people who really thought that was going to happen with Justin Fields last year, and a lot more people that feel like it should have happened with Justin Fields last year and Russ Wilson. Probably a 20 to 30% chance, I'd say, that Jackson Dart is the New York Giants starting quarterback week one.
Week one.
It's going to – here's the thing. I think what they do here, because they are fighting for their jobs, I think that the biggest problem that we're looking at here is – oh, yeah, all right, cool. I got Breece Hall at the 301. Hashtag draft faster. So I think that the problem is if it's close, we saw it with Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix last year. If it is close going into training camp, they're not going to waste time, rep. Oh, we got to see who the quarterback. If it's close, they're going to give their first round draft pick. Now, obviously, this is a little different with Jackson Dart because, like I said, we talked about this on a previous episode where he has to learn the nuance of the NFL playbook, the NFL locker room. The football stuff is not what we have to be concerned about with Jackson Dart. I mean, does his decision making short circuit? Sure, but every single quarterback that's considered a big armed gunslinger that has confidence in their ability, you could say that about them too. So he just has to learn to manage the the mental capacities of an NFL quarterback, and then he's gonna the talent will shine through. The sooner that the game slows down for him and he's spitting out gun trolley right 64 house FN or XN, that's become so famous for Jaden Daniels after the play calls being like signals and the snap count being a clap in college. The sooner that he's able to manage that. It's those types of things that it's not going to be whether or not he can layer a ball over a linebacker. We know he can do that. It's not whether he can thread the needle to Malik Neighbors on an end breaker, at 18 yards or throw it deep out. None of those are questions. It's just how he acclimates and how, Brian Daboll feels that he's ready, which the clock is already ticking because, Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are very close to collecting unemployment.
And there's only one way to do that. Reps.
Talk about it. Yes.
Yeah. You can only gain experience by gaining experience.
Experience is the best experience.
That should be a t-shirt. All right. And we already talked about Kyle McCord. If Seattle switches to Milroe during the season, does that help or hurt Kenneth Walker? I don't know. Did it hurt Saquon Barkley that Jalen Hurts was a rushing quarterback last year?
Did it hurt Lamar? Did it hurt Derrick Henry that Lamar Jackson was a rushing quarterback?
I think we're just giving you kind of sarcastic, snide answers for no. I don't think it hurts Kenneth Walker very much. I also don't see it happening. I think
jovially snide. We're not actually being snide towards you.
Correct. We're not being condescending. I think Sam Darnold has the ticket, and unlike a lot of people who watched one game in the playoffs last year and said Sam Darnold is cooked, I look at his body of work over the 2024 season and think that Sam Darnold is not being given enough credit. So I definitely see him playing through the entire season in Seattle. We've watched Jalen Milroe. He's not ready.
Sam Darnold scares the piss out of me.
I didn't say he doesn't. Just
fair. I'm not. Yeah. So the thing is, he had 27 turnover-worthy plays last year, and he only came up with 12 interceptions versus 35 touchdowns. And so we saw the minute that they were able to make him hold on to the ball, that offensive line just absolutely started to crumble. I mean, their left tackle, big stud guy, and then Christian Darrisaw, that's his name. Christian Darrisaw went out for the year, and then we saw flashes of whether or not, whether he was good, he was able to get the ball out quick to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, or it just went very poorly. I mean, the Lions absolutely clamped. They clamped everything up, and he looked the part of Carolina or Jets Sam Darnold. So it could work. I have faith that Clint Kubiak will be able to create. We talk about easy buttons in an offense. You need to have those in order to micromanage a guy when you don't have a guy that's capable of overcoming those things. Very few actual quarterbacks in the NFL are.
Perfect example is what the New Orleans Saints did in weeks 1 and 2 last year. They lit the NFL absolutely on fire with Derek Carr, and then everybody on the Saints died. So it wasn't sustainable. But especially with Clint Kubiak in the building, I just don't think. And hey, if we want to go out there and say that Sam Darnold is a mediocre quarterback, okay, we can say that. But I don't think he's bad enough to lose the job. I think that even if the Seahawks are on the verge of finishing the season at 7-10 or 8-9, something like that, or 9-8, whatever, somewhere in that or buzzing around 500 range, Sam Darnold is not going to be so terrible that he loses the job to Jalen Milroe. He's going to be just good enough. I don't even think 5 or 6 wins is going to lose him the job. Or 5, yeah. I think it's going to take something catastrophic.
I agree with you. I'm on the same page with you. We're in the same boat, rowing the same way. I don't want to see Jalen Milroe in 2025. I was a big proponent of him, and then I saw the shortcomings, and I was like, man, this is a developmental project, and hopefully the Seahawks have the patience to do that right. We can incorporate his legs immediately into some plays, some packages. Right. But if we see Jalen Milroe at any point in 2025 and anything other than those packages, it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be good for any of the pass catching options in Seattle,
except for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Every team can sustain 140 target wide receiver, every one of them, and that's what Seattle's committed to do. Jamie Pirog says Milroe needs until 2027. Sounds a lot like Dylan Gabriel. All right, moving on. We have a question from Coach Chev. What is your stance on Calvin Ridley this year?
Well, I would like to point out that I'm the first, the last, the best that there ever was to point out that Calvin Ridley is this year's Terry McLaurin, Jeremiah. And what I mean by that is Calvin Ridley is going to be the guy this year, the old wily vet that is the guy who emerges from the ashes, like a phoenix, and he's able. I'm sorry, I can't keep this.
Sorry, I've never heard a phoenix before.
Oh well, it's honestly it's from my private collection of mythical animal sounds that I've collected over the years, and so yeah, I could hold it together. That's funny. That's really funny. But yeah, Jeremiah has been on the Calvin Ridley train, Calvin Ridley to the moon train for quite some time, and there are other people touting as such. Jeremiah first said it about a month and a half ago, and now it's becoming a very popular refrain as we get closer to redraft season.
Yeah, and we on a different show we talked about it a lot last night, and yeah, better.
I'll fill you in on the deets once we turn the cameras off.
Okay. All right. Now let's get to our top story. I should have like a video for this or something. We'll be right back with the top story. All right, it's time for the top story. Top story is the NFL schedule was released, and that's not just the top story. That's a big part of it. There was a tweet this morning from Warren Sharp at Sharp Football on Twitter. I wish my last name was Sharp. That would just make things so much easier. Then people wouldn't question. Tweet came out about 9:30 this morning, and it says, the NFL controls when you play, not who you play. I've identified the most important observations of the 2025 schedule that you need to know. Many teams were impacted at historic levels. Here are key takeaways you need to be aware of. The first one is the most important, I think. And maybe that's not the first one. Okay. In 2020, it was the first one that I saw. All right. In 2025, the largest net rest edge, that's much easier if you're reading it than if you're listening to me speak it, is plus 13 days. That's the Detroit Lions. It's the number 5 largest net rest edge of the last 25 years. What that means is every week when the Lions play somebody, there is a disconnect between how long the Lions have been able to rest their weary bones and their opponent. So the largest net edge, the Lions will have rested almost one full day every time, more than their opponent every time they play. Okay. We saw the attrition that happened to the San Francisco 49ers last year, who were, by all accounts, a favorite to go to the Super Bowl preseason, right? They had good betting odds. They were supposed to run off a whole ton of victories. We'll talk about why they didn't in a second. The largest net rest disadvantage is minus 19 days. And that is owned by the Las Vegas Raiders. That means that more than one extra day of rest will be granted on average to their opponents than them. That is including, and this is crazy, they have a week in which they have a Thursday night game, and that's followed by a Monday night game. That's as much rest as you can get without having a bye week, and they're still an historically unrested team this year. 101. It's terrible. 101 games will be played where a team has a rest edge. That's the number 1 largest in history. 61 games will be played where a team has a plus 3 day rest edge or greater. which is absolutely incredible. The reason that I kept bringing up the 49ers is because when we look at what happened to the 49ers last year, they were in the same situation as the Raiders. They were at the biggest rest edge disadvantage in all of the NFL. And what happened? A probable playoff team, if not picked to go very, very deep into the playoffs or even to the Super Bowl, absolutely broke down and crapped the bed because they weren't rested enough and they lost just about everyone to injury. The Raiders, in the midst of a rebuild, they're not even a contending team yet, and they're about to face what the 49ers did last year. On top of that, we saw that the pending strength of schedule is in the 49ers' favor. They have what's now considered the easiest schedule for 2025 based on last year's team records. All of that put together, they have a more natural rest edge. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL. I think the 49ers this year are going to be able to put everything together, be their 10, 11, 12 win team, and the Raiders are going to stink. We went over the Raiders' schedule last night along with the Vegas odds, and Vegas has them as underdogs in 4 out of the 17 games. So that puts them at a 4-13 record to finish the season. That's not even considering the fact that they have 6 road games against playoff teams. That's not considering the fact that they have the worst rest edge of any team in the NFL. That's not considering the fact that they're trying to rebuild anything. All that's doing is looking at their head-to-head opponents, handicapping it, and saying they're favorites against Jacksonville, Cleveland, and that's about it. Also, their over/under is 6.5. So if you're looking at how Vegas has favored the games the Raiders are playing, they're going to go under that 6.5. You look at 6.5, and you're like, there's no way. They got a veteran quarterback in Geno Smith. Their defense is better. They just drafted Ashton Genty. He's going to smash. They got the best tight end in football. There's no way they lose more than 7 games, or they win fewer than 7 games. Well, according to Vegas, they're only favored in 4 out of 17 games.
That's interesting to me because of the fact that we have to figure out where those wins come from. So we're assuming that we assume that they win one of the 6 division games?
No, Las Vegas assumes none.
Right. So
their own 6 in division.
Then we're accordioning that out to the AFC West opponents this year, which are, help me out here, Biggs, the AFC South and the NFC North.
Not all of them. We have the Patriots. We get Jacksonville. We get Indianapolis. I think it's like we get Tennessee. I think Tennessee is a home game. We might be favored in that one.
So AFC South for sure.
Yeah.
And then NFC, what NFC teams do you play?
That's a great question that I wasn't prepared for.
You're fine. 1 second. I'm gonna look this up real quick because I struggle with that number just because if you're going 0-6 in the division, that cuts your wins down to 11, and you'd basically have to play 700 ball to get to 7 wins, the over on 6.5 in 11 games. That's where I struggle.
Now back to the Lions real quick. The Lions play 8 games with a rest edge. No team in history has played more than 6 until now. Nearly half of their games have a rest edge. They play only 1 game with a rest disadvantage. By contrast, the Raiders play only 1 game with a rest advantage, and that's that Monday Night Football game. Detroit plays +7 net games with a rest edge, the most in NFL history. Prior to that was +4. The number of games. So for all of you people thinking that the Lions losing Ben Johnson are going to fall off, the schedule doesn't think that the schedule would say otherwise. When you look just at the divisional opponents, the Lions have 8 games with a rest edge. Green Bay has 4, and Chicago and Minnesota each have 2. Rest disadvantage games, Chicago has 5, Green Bay and Minnesota have 4, and Detroit has 1. Net games with rest edge, Chicago has -3. So Ben Johnson doesn't look like, according to the schedule, Ben Johnson is going to bring us the Chicago turnaround we're anticipating, and it doesn't look like Detroit is going to fall off a cliff quite as sharply as we're anticipating.
That's fair. I pick Chicago. I would pick Chicago to win more games than to win more games, even though that's an interesting situation there. If they're at a negative net rest edge, the problem is they have maybe it affects them less because they're such a young team, but also I don't think football is football. Like, it's going to take a long time to recover no matter who or what your team is. I would be interested to see the travel. I think I saw on an article where one of the teams is one of the least traveled in the entire NFL. And I think the Bengals might be the least traveled team in the entire NFL this year. And the Chargers might be the most.
Is that throwing in Brazil, Germany, England, Ireland? Is that throwing in all of those games too?
Yes.
Because that's going to skew.
The Bengals don't have a international slate game this
year. So Detroit has +13 rest edge. Miami has +11. The Rams +10. The Niners +9. Thank you, schedule makers. The Raiders are at the bottom with -19. New Orleans, and we were talking about New Orleans possibly being in position to get the 101 next year, -14 in net rest edge. Washington at -13. Buffalo and Cleveland with -7, and Tennessee is 6th with -6. So those teams are they're going to be less rested than the teams that they're going up against on average. And let me just double check Tennessee real quick. There's, I want to say 1 week, and that's the bye week where Tennessee has +7. That's the one.
Okay.
That's the one. They have one game where they have a rest edge, and that's after their bye week. Raiders, they don't have the edge because who they're playing in week 9 also has a bye in week 8. So, and bad luck, schedule makers, or conspiracy to further push down that Davis family.
That's the closest to NFL NBA draft lottery as we're going to get here.
Yeah, New Orleans has 3 games against teams coming off a bye when they're not coming off a bye.
The fix is in, boys.
That's ridiculous.
The fix is in.
All right. Shout out to Warren Sharp for bringing this to the table and helping to reveal that there's more to just football than what you see play out on the field and who the players are and who the coaches are and stuff like that. There's stuff between the lines, and hopefully, we've done something today to kind of bring some of those ideas to your attention and help you think a little bit deeper about the game as a whole, right?
Yes, thinking about the game's whole will land you in a dark place. Did I do it wrong?
Oh no, that was perfect. Thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we'll have some more breaking news, like another big contract. We're getting close to the June 1st cut dates, so maybe we'll talk about that. Also, like and subscribe, hit the bell. Go ahead, and if there's something that you want us to talk about, go ahead and comment that in the comments. Find us on Twitter at BigBonedFFB or at Chev90, or go to Player Profiler Plus now, and not go there now, but it's Player Profiler Plus now. But go there and then drop a comment and say, hey, talk about this, and we'll do that next Friday. And you guys are great. Thanks for watching.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.